Hey guys, it's Archon. Welcome to Inferno Friday. Last week I showed off the Lightning Wizard and Frost Wizard in the Reaper of Souls beta, and since then you guys have been asking me to show off the Fire Wizard. But I felt like I didn't have enough gear to do a good fire build. But now I've got some gear, and so this last week we tried off the fire build, and I wanted to show you what I found. First of all, let me show you the gear I found. We have this Cinder Coat. It deals an extra 18% damage for fire skills and reduces the resource cost of fire skills by 30%, which is pretty huge, 30% reduced resource. And these Mage Fists make fire skills do an extra 17% damage and doubles the duration of fire elemental effects. And then the one other piece I have are these bracers that give 15% to fire skills. The rest of my legendaries are inconsequential to the build. They just help me boost my damage. So we started playing around with the fire build, and what we decided pretty quickly was fire's just not quite as powerful as lightning or frost. And I think the biggest reason is there's not much crowd control in fire, and that got me thinking this might be a good build for group play, and it's probably what I'm going to try out next, is try to find some other people to play with that have some crowd control, because the fire skills can do a lot of damage. You just have no way to keep enemies together. This is the one build I found that actually worked pretty well. There's a few other variations that worked all right, but this one definitely worked the best. Anything else we could come up with just wasn't that great. And maybe I just need some new legendaries before I can get a great fire build. But this one worked all right. I'm going to show it off on Torment 1. Again, not quite as good as Frost or Lightning, but maybe we just need to get the gear first. So we have Magic Missiles, our primary skill, just for when we're out of Arcane Power. This is Conflagrate, which makes the missiles pierce and do fire damage over 3 seconds. We have Meteor with Meteor Shower. There's only 2 Fire Meteor runes, Meteor Shower and Molten Impact. Molten Impact now does a ton of damage, but it has a 15-second cooldown. We tried that with another build, but you can't really use that rune as your main attack. Meteor Shower, however, of course, has no cooldown. We put on Slow Time with Time Shell. This is the only way I could find to really crowd control enemies. Other than Black Hole, Slow Time really helped a lot with Meteor Shower. Put Black Hole on there as well with Blazer, which turns it into fire damage. And we have Teleport with Fracture. I'm just using Fracture because my helm gives me a bonus to mirror images. I'm not even quite sure if it works on Fracture, but I'd probably use Wormhole if I wasn't using that. And then we have Energy Armor with Energy Tap, just so I have more arcane power to cast Meteor with. Dominance for survivability. Even though they did nerf this, they haven't updated the tooltip yet. It only gives, I think, 16,000 shield, but it still seems worth it. It provides a lot of defense. Conflagration, of course, just gives an extra 6% crit once an enemy's been hit by a fire spell. Astral Presence for more arcane power. And then this passive here, I don't really think it matters what you put here. You can put Power Hungry or Audacity if you're going to be standing close to enemies a lot. I'm trying out Evocation right now, but there's no real passive you need right there. But overall, the build's pretty fun. I think it'd be better in a group, and maybe I would take off Slow Time if the group had enough CC. But it works all right solo. It's just, I think you'll see it's a little bit harder to stay away from the enemies than it would be with the Frost or Lightning builds we were showing off earlier. So we'll check out this Torment 1 Rift, see what kind of enemies we get. The kind of enemies that usually give us trouble are enemies that teleport to us, as we're not stunning or slowing enemies unless they're inside of our slow time bubble. Torment 1, enemies should die pretty quickly. We're probably still a little low on toughness with energy armor, where I'm at about 9 million, which isn't too bad. But if a challenging elite pack gets on top of us, they might mess us up a little bit. You see enemies are just dying really quickly. We have about 1 million DPS right now. Oh, and we have an elite pack right here. Very nice. So we're just going to keep enemies slowed right here so that they can't move much. And this is really the saving grace of the build, is that slow time. Without it, enemies just pile right on top of us, and there's not much we can do. You can see you can do a lot of damage here. Enemies are breaking out over here, so I'm going to bring the slow time bubble over. I don't want to get that pylon because I want to show off the build without any pylons. But yeah, we'll keep that enemy sucked in with Black Hole, slow down to slow time, stay out of that Bomberman affix. It's getting too close, we'll go ahead and teleport away. Some Black Hole in there, slow time. This guy's actually pretty slow. We'd probably be okay without slow time, but with a lot of the enemies you really need it. And there he goes. So yeah, a good amount of damage. It's just you can't just stand there and plow into them like you can with the Frost and Lightning builds. There's just no real way to keep them stun locked or frozen, and so slow time does a good job. But again, I think it would just be better in a group. If you had other people in your group that were crowd controlling, then you could really just lay down a bunch of fire skills, because fire does do a lot of damage. And if you think about it, if you're playing once Reaper Souls releases, whether it's ladder or normal play, you're going to want to be playing in a group anyways. And so it might end up being a good build. But soloing, you might want to have a backup fire, or rather lightning or frost build. And who knows, maybe they'll add some CC, or even add a legendary that provides some kind of CC and a fire build. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, it's mostly focused on burn damage. There's a lot of fire skills like Hydra and the Scorch rune on Arcane Orb that make it so that the ground burns with fire. And so it seems like it'd be fun to put together a build where just the ground is always on fire and enemies are constantly taking damage. That would do well, I think, on a higher difficulty level, when enemies are going to be alive for longer, and so that burn damage is really going to get used. And I just don't have the toughness to try a build like that. And again, I think that'd be better in a group. We're getting a lot of rares here. Maybe we can find one more elite pack just so I can show it off on elite pack that's not so slow. That when we didn't get to utilize slow time that much. If not, maybe we can just find some more mobs that we can use it on. But overall, it's a fun build. It's a nice change of pace. I think I'll stick with Frost for now. That's what I have the most gear in, and it seemed to work pretty well. They did nerf Lightning a little bit. They took down Paralysis to a 15% chance to stun instead of 20. Not a huge nerf, but they also nerfed Electrocute, which they said was hitting more often than it should, or at least proccing more often than it should. Oh, got Wormhold there. And there's slow time up before that one goes down. Go. And yeah, here you can see slow time working a little bit better, keeping them from getting to us. Teleport over here and get another slow time down. Oh, we can get a Wormhold. Oh no! Let's see if we can get him away from us. Black hole. Nice, just enough to escape. And I wanted to try this with evocation, because sometimes I run away from my slow time, and slow time's still not off cooldown, but I need to get another one up. You can see some of these elite packs in Reaper of Souls. They're different mob types. The yellows are different than the minions. Yeah, like most of the wizard builds I've been showing off, the key is to stay away from the enemies. There's the potential of some melee builds. I just haven't gotten enough gear that I think melee wizard would be viable yet. But I would like to try that out, so maybe if I get some more gear that helps with Spectral Blade or other melee range skills, then we could try that out. Yeah, but you can see the fire build works pretty well. I think it worked better in a group. You wouldn't need that slow time, and you can really lay down some skills. You could put down Mammoth Hydra, or you could even use, if you wanted to put on Scorch on the Arcane Orb rune. Let me see if I can find that. Then you could put down Mammoth Hydra and just keep the ground on fire. If you're doing a higher difficulty, you could do some really good damage over time. I'll show you what that's like. Now I'm going to get wrecked here, I think, if we find anything that's fast, because we're not going to be able to keep them away from us. But I'll just show you what it looks like to keep the ground on fire here, put down our black hole. These guys are probably going to die too fast for us to show it off, but you can see you can really just cover the ground in fire and then do a lot of damage over time. Most of the damage is still going to be initial, but it could be a fun build. Just certain mob types are going to wreck you with that slow time, because they're going to be right on top of you. But it's kind of fun to watch, and again, you're just completely igniting the ground. Seems like damage over time is a big focus on the fire runes they've put into Reaper of Souls. I got splody guys all over us. It's also a fun build. You just spend a lot of time running away, and you don't quite get the damage you get from that meteor shower. But I'll keep playing around with the Fire Wizard. If I get some more gear for fire skills, then try out some new builds. And hopefully I can get some group play in on the stream. So I'll have my stream linked below if you want to stop by. I'll be playing Fire Wizard a little bit this next week. Hopefully in some group scenarios, so I can do a little bit better than I was doing solo. And I can turn up the difficulty a little bit higher than Torment 1. If I had some better gear, I could go higher than that. But with limited gear and the fire build being not very crowd control-y, Torment 1 seems to be a good place for the build right now. That Scorch Rune does look really cool. But yeah, also this week, in case you missed it, they did do some nerfs, just some small nerfs to Reaper of Souls that we kind of saw coming. I mentioned a few of them, but also the Crusader beam was bugged. It was doing 1500% damage every second instead of over the course of 5 seconds, and they fixed that and fixed some other things that were a little bit OP, like the rings that made certain elemental types heal you instead of deal damage to you. They're very strong rings, and so they've disabled them for now, and they haven't told us exactly what they're going to do with it. But it's just the first round of changes we've seen. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of changes over the course of the beta. We still have, I think, at least 4 months till the game comes out, maybe 5, 6 months. And so we'll see a lot of tweaks and changes there, and I'll be keeping up with them and showing you guys any new builds that come as a result of those changes or additions. And if you guys like this, if you like seeing builds in action and seeing new builds that are potential on different classes, check out West March Workshop. It's a new show me and Nineball are doing from BlizzPro. It's going to be on blizzpro.tv, and I'll link to that below in the description as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below letting me know what you'd like to see next. What classes would you like to see? What builds you want me to try out? What would you like me to talk more about? I'm really interested to hear your guys' opinions. Please hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll have another one for you soon.